roads speeds decreased. They voiced their concerns at a city council meeting last night, asking for more police presence and an additional crossing guard.
Mitch Shaw with UDOT says there's only so much that safety engineering can do if drivers are unwilling to slow down and stop. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump says Boeing will produce a sixth-generation fighter jet for the United States. ABC News Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz has more.
President Trump and Pete Hegseth finally said this is the way we're going to do it. There had been a pause in the Air Force, but it is a sixth-generation fighter. China is also working on a sixth-generation fighter, so we're kind of neck and neck in that arena.
It will be named the F-47, which Trump, the 47th president, called a beautiful number. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 101 points, the S&P down 19, and the NASDAQ down 11. Time now for the KSL bracket update. Here's Jason Jones.
And they're just about to go final, and they just did go final now. Alabama over Robert Morris, 90-81. Robert Morris put up a 5, but that's a 2 over a 15 right there. Elsewhere, they're at the half. Memphis leads Colorado State 36-31. Baylor 75-72 over top of Mississippi State. And right now, Iowa State is just putting it to Lipscomb, so that game is not close. With your KSL NCAA tournament bracket update, I'm Jason Jones.
Follow NCAA tournament updates and all other sports updates on KSLSports.com. Coming up, the temperatures are just getting warmer from here. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 1:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hi, it's Julie from the Visitors Bureau in Logan. I'm here to make your spring break planning so easy. Here we go. Reserve your hotel room right now. Don't miss the original Baby Animal Days at the American West Heritage Center, April 2nd through the 5th and 10th through the 12th. Watch your kids and grandkids cuddle all the baby animals like lambs, goats, piglets, bunnies, and chicks. So adorable. Or forget the kids. You'll love them too. Baby bears from Yellowstone Bear World will be here April 2nd through the 5th, combined with the Cache Valley Mountain Man Rendezvous non-stop adventure. Next, head to the Cache Valley Fun Park for laser tag, roller skating, bowling, and arcade games. Take your family to Angie's for the kitchen sink, a mountainous banana split on steroids served in an actual sink. Pick up a life supply of goldfish crackers at the Pepperidge Farm Factory or see them hand-dipping chocolates at the Bluebird Candy Company. Head to Logan for spring break or anytime you need a break. ExploreLogan.com. ExploreLogan.com.
Progressive knows owning a home can be hard, but not always. Like when you're relaxing on your patio, enjoying a nice, quiet evening. So quiet. Except for the sound of the neighbor's party. Which you said you'd go to if you weren't busy. And your quiet night on the patio, that's not exactly busy, is it? Maybe you should just stay inside. At least Progressive's Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance is the easiest part of owning a home. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Order for Jennifer C.
Is this my double shot, double cream, double froth, double pump, double whip, double sleeve?
Yeah. Can you handle that much caffeine?
Did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, really? That's great.
Seriously, did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, you just said that.
Did you say I just said that?
Yeah, I'm cutting you off.
I can't have any more? Why not?
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
We are back to a quiet drive on all the Valley freeways, and that includes I-15 both directions between Ogden and Provo. We have the final cleanup of the accident northbound Highway 89 at the I-84 junction, but those vehicles are now out of traffic and the delays have cleared. Teens can get up to $200 with a Teen Learn and Earn account, plus continue earning rewards as they master the essentials of finance. More at cypresscu.com/teen. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy and a high of 52 today, and this weekend is more of the same. 54 on Saturday with a chance of showers, 57 on Sunday, and then on Monday and Tuesday we get into the mid to high 60s. Right now it's cloudy and 50 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, we're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
The process to fully dismantle the U.S. Department of Education is now underway. Fulfilling a campaign promise, President Trump signed an executive order to start the process yesterday. He said he hopes the current Secretary of Education will be the last. Welcome, everybody, to Inside Sources. I'm your host, Adam Gardner, here with Dr. Leah Murray, director of the Olene Walker Institute, a much cooler title than me, principal at my own lobbying firm, ASG Consulting. There are still a lot of questions about what the president can actually do to end the department, since it requires an act of Congress to fully dismantle and eliminate the Department of Education, but we're going to kind of get into it. What does that mean, Leah?
Well, I think it's a good question, and I'm wondering actually what you thought politically from yesterday. On the one hand, it was like, we're going to end this, but we also know we need Congress to be able to do that, and we want you to work on ending it, but also at the same time, keep all of the activities going full throttle. It felt mixed messaged to me, right? I wasn't sure, how do I say, it sounded like a fabulous plan or idea with absolutely no mechanism, right? Or like how we're actually going to implement this.
Well, that's the problem is right now, this president has signed more executive orders than FDR. I mean, significantly more than any of our last 4 or 5 presidents.
Yeah, he's running at a clip.
He is.
Yeah.
He is running very quickly, and Congress has shown no appetite to give him any direction. They're just saying yes, sir, to everything that's happening. And I'll be honest with you, Leah. Getting rid of the Department of Education has been talked about by every Republican president, except for maybe George Bush.
George W. Bush. I was going to say,
he
pause.
loved the Department of Education.
He was all no child left behind.
No child left behind.
Right.
So you're correct in that. But most Republicans, at least the candidates themselves, have talked about getting rid of the Department of Education. The problem is Congress is the one that created the Department of Education, and Congress has to dismantle it. So there's only so much he can do. These big programs that we have where, kids' school lunches, like the Department of Agriculture already has that program. They can take it on. Pell Grants, he said, Pell Grants are not going to be done through the Department of Education anymore. Student loans, that's all going to be done through the Department of Commerce. So we're moving that over. And so they're moving some of the disabled kids and disabled students. That's going to be pushed somewhere else. So he's making some of the big things the Department of Education does and states are used to them doing. That's not going to go away. But I think what Republicans really want to see is we're sick of having strings attached to our education. You saw this during the Biden administration. You've given some examples during the Biden administration. Can you think of any when they said to local schools,
right? So if
you have
remember,
to follow our rules.
Yeah, it was when we were defining gender that got tied to federal funding for free lunches, right? And so we on KSL at Night back in the day had a whole conversation around whether that is a good use of authority, right?
Sure.
So if you are wanting children to get free lunches, right, tying to that a really, how do I say, volatile, right, controversial issue seems not a super great move.
And during the Trump administration, he did the exact same thing during COVID, where Fauci was setting the rules for the government and not President, and President Trump was listening to everything Fauci was saying. And so we had to shut down all of our schools. And when we came back to school, our kids, my kindergartner had to wear a mask in school, and everyone was, the teachers were no, put your mask back on. You have to keep your mask on. Don't put it down below your nose. And it was a nightmare for my kid and for other kids. And it was because we couldn't make decisions for ourselves. We could if we wanted to get rid of all of the federal money that came with it, but there were strings attached by every Republican president and every Democratic president. And I think for the Republican side, for the conservative side, I think it's great that that we're starting to dismantle it. Whether it goes away, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. So I just would push back a little bit and say, I agree with you that I think education firmly falls in the purview of state powers, right? Like, it is nowhere in Article 1, Section 8. It is not something that Congress should be doing. However, I do think over the years, and this is not recent, right? We started collecting data on education back in 1867. So we're talking almost 200 years of a conversation around, are our children educated well? Are there some standards that we could say that we want our kids to be able to meet, like reading by third grade or something? So a little bit, it's like, I would like there to be some mechanisms where we can be sharing best practices.
That was why the Department of Education was started. It was literally, the Department of Education was literally started to share data and techniques and keep data on what states are proficient and how can you share ideas. I don't know if you agree with this, but I would say that is not what the Department of Education is for anymore.
No, right. I think, what do we call it? It's like coercive federalism, right?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I
So
like
the
that
answer
term,
is,
yes.
when I need the state to do the thing, and it's not actually in my purview to do the thing, what I do is I tie money strings to it, right? So, for example, on a totally unrelated topic, every state in the union has 21 as the drinking age. There is nothing in the Constitution that says the federal government should be telling states what the drinking age is, but every single state wants its money for transportation and for highways. And the federal government has said, if you want money for I-15, thou shalt have a 21-year-old drinking age.
Right.
And the states just fold. So that coercive federalism we do see across the board. And a little bit, I think... How do I say? I think for Democrats, they like it when it's their policy. I think for Republicans, they like it when it's their policy. I don't think, Adam, there's a lot of people who are like, when I don't get my way, how do I, it doesn't feel like, I hear you articulating an ideology that says the states have purview. And if, New York does something I don't like here in Utah, then that's New York's prerogative.
I think that's a blessing.
Right.
We all
like
campaign
that,
about, we hate Massachusetts level healthcare. That's their thing. But guess what? Massachusetts is super small and condensed, and they have their own government. They can do whatever they want. And that's what I love about federalism, is that's great. New York, be New York. You want to have your congestion pay in Brooklyn that Trump is trying to dismantle? I don't care about it. Do whatever you want. Let Brooklyn and let Manhattan be Manhattan. So let Salt Lake and let Payson and let Davis County, let us rule ourselves. That's all I want to see. I want to talk a little bit about, hear from President Trump, providing some details on which departments will pick up the different services from the Department of Education.
All we have to do is get the students to get guidance from the people that love them and cherish them, including their parents, by the way, who will be totally involved in their education along with the boards.
And I kind of like that because he's saying, hey, parents, if we're going to do this, it's time for you to step up and be more involved in your kids' education.
Is that the next executive order? Dear parents,
to
the parent-teacher conferences.
Yes, show up and be involved in your kid's life. Exactly. Next on Inside Sources, we are going to spend the rest of the hour discussing the rambunctious town hall last night with Congressman Mike Kennedy and Congresswoman Celeste Malloy. Our analysis is up next, followed by interviews with both of the representatives. We'll be right back.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home, your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter, and this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
Can you take the power of your home internet almost anywhere? With Xfinity, you can. Do more of what you love in the places you go most with internet and mobile together. Xfinity built a network 99.99% reliable. Plus, Xfinity Mobile has Wi-Fi Power Boost, giving you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. Get the same reliable network where you need it the most. The coffee shop, the grocery store, at the game. Whatever you're into, you'll love how fast you can do it with Xfinity Internet and Mobile. Now through April 21st, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and one unlimited mobile line together for $25 a month for 1 year with no annual contract, and save $1,000 in your first year over Verizon and AT&T. Plus, ask how to get a free premium 5G phone. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment taxes and fees extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus one unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus one unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual speeds vary.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Well, we mentioned that the Utah women were also playing today, and unfortunately it's one and done for the Utah women as they lose to the 9th-seeded Indiana. They were the 8th seed there, and that's all over, though, for the Utah women. Over the men's side, Memphis with a 2-point lead right now over Colorado State. That's 42-40, about 17 minutes left in that game there. Iowa State 77, Lipscomb 51. Your earlier winners included Baylor and Alabama. With your KSL NCAA Tournament Bracket Update, I'm Jason Jones.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Raise your hand if you want to tax the rich.
bridge. So we're there.
Anger, frustration, commotion. A little bit when you listen to that, Adam, it pops the microphone, right? It gets so loud that it kind of the sound.
It's like muffled.
That's right, becomes muffled. It was quite a fiasco at last night's town hall hosted by Utah's congressional representatives Celeste Malloy and Mike Kennedy. Much of the anger from constituents centered around Elon Musk and DOGE cuts to federal programs. People also voiced a lot of concern with what they say is a Congress not willing to push back on President Trump. And so over the next few segments, Adam and I wanted to spend some time talking about the state of our democracy, maybe. But mostly we want to talk about like how it is that, our representatives are trying to have conversations with their constituents. And I just want you to listen to one person who attended the town hall speaking to KSL TV about the frustrations from the crowd.
It's incredibly important. It's so important for them to hear us as a community voice our frustrations. We all have similar frustrations, and I think it's so important for them to hear that firsthand. And I really commend both Mike Kennedy and Celeste Malloy for doing this. They were hard questions. It was a rowdy audience, and they stuck with it. It wasn't the answers I wanted to hear or that I liked, but 100% they did it, and we need more of it.
I love that right there. Wasn't the answers I wanted to hear or that I liked, but we need more of this. I respect them for being here. Don't you think we need more of that, right? So I go to a town hall. I maybe don't scream and yell and use profane hand signals at the members of Congress. And maybe what I do is listen. And even though I disagree, right, it's that conversation that matters.
I think it's just reminding me of so I used to work for Mitt Romney, and he spoke at the state Republican convention, completely drowned out by booze. Right when he started his conversation, there was a large section that just started booing him loudly and would not let him finish. So he didn't get through his speech at all. And I thought it was incredibly rude. I didn't vote for Orrin Hatch one year. I was helping his opponent, but when Orrin Hatch stood up and spoke at convention, Republican delegates booed him. He couldn't even speak. They did it to Gary Herbert. They did it to Spencer Cox. And Republicans do it to Republicans all the time. And it's a different atmosphere. It's not a town hall. But it always frustrated me. You're not even willing to hear these people out. There are still our elected representatives, and it seems to me that a lot of liberals, a lot of the Democrats don't have that sort of outlet because their people don't usually win. Especially
there aren't any town halls.
There's not town halls from Democrats. There's not, the people running for governor, you're not going to boo them because they're not going to win anyway. So, but it seems like their outlet are these town halls. So Republicans, I got to give props to Representative Kennedy and Representative Malloy because they started their town halls this Congress right in the belly of the beast. They did it at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City, where they knew they were not going to be very popular.
Yeah, and so I just to kind of defend Utah a little bit, right? So Wyoming Representative Harriet Hageman was grilled at a town hall. Chuck Grassley, senator from Iowa, Republican, grilled at a town hall. So I don't.
And
think
the Democrats are too.
Right,
the Democrats are getting they're fired up too.
Right. So I do think I think it's not just about whether you're winning or you're losing. It's kind of like this is how Americans feel. This is the way to have a conversation, is to show up and scream and yell at somebody who they disagree with. And a little bit in our last segment, we talked about the Department of Education. And maybe what I'm going to say is by nationalizing education policy and we pulled out any semblance of like how you behave well early. Yeah. I mean, like maybe that's part of the problem, that we've got a generation or two of Americans who think the right way to have your voice heard is to just scream.
I would argue it doesn't do a lot of good. We talked a little bit before the show.
Yeah, but pause right there. I'm just totally going to talk right over you. You said you worked for Senator Romney. I know he did town halls up at Weber State. We hosted one. When you just said it doesn't do a lot of good, Meaning, if he stood there and people were polite and talking to him, he might be more receptive.
Those town
to
halls did a lot of good.
Yeah,
I don't remember. So in our first year, in his first year in office, I bet we did 20 town halls, maybe 25 if you count going to businesses and doing town halls for their business. But he did one in West Jordan. He did one in Farmington, a couple in Ogden. We went out to the Uinta Basin. We went out to coal country, all over the state. And all of them were very polite and professional. And a lot of people, there was 300 people in Farmington. It was during the government shutdown. And I remember he started with, okay, just so you know what's happening in Congress, and I know most of you are mad at me, I want you to raise your hand if you don't think I'm tough enough on Donald Trump. Half the hands went up. How many think I'm too tough on Donald Trump? The other half of the hands went.
Yeah.
He goes, do you see how none of you are going to like me? And I'm just like, I'm okay with that. I just have to do what I think is right. But let's be cordial. I'm happy to talk straight with you every time. When we did the one at Weber State, it was very cordial. And he stood up and said, I will answer any question you had. You're not going to like it. But he actually called people out. Stop. I'm done with you. Stop talking. Stop yelling. You're ruining it for everybody else. And the crowd kind of jumped on that. Yeah, we agreed. Stop.
Yeah.
You need to knock it off. And I think they were pretty cordial and they really helped. So that encouraged him to do 25 town halls. What we're seeing with Jason Chaffetz back in the day was he did one, and a bunch of people in Salt Lake County showed up with ski masks on, and they slashed his staff's tires. His face was pale while he was doing this thing. They were going after him and his family. It was horrible. And then Chris Stewart did one the next week, and he stood up to the crowd and he said, listen, I'm not going to talk over you. You can boo and yell, but I'm not going to talk. We have 1 hour.
So what do you think? So we've got some texters responding. I think the people who are screaming are people who really feel their government's not listening to them. So I just want to interject. I teach 18 to 22-year-olds, right? I've got college students.
I was one of them.
Yep. And today I talked to them about democracy and is it going well and do you like democracy? And to a student, they all said it's a little too loud, right? So they talked about it being too loud. But then they all kind of said, and nobody's listening. It feels like there's no outlet. So I don't know. I came in here all we need to have decorum, and the best way to have a conversation with someone is actually be polite. But maybe there's some grace to be given that if I feel like government's not listening to me, how did you say earlier that's the only outlet Democrats have in Utah? I mean,
so don't misunderstand me. If you are giving a town hall and I'm frustrated at everything you're doing, I have no problem. And I've been a candidate and I've done town halls and I've had people yell at me. I only had 30 and none of them flipped me off like in this group. But if they stand up and they say, listen, this is what I believe and I'm sick and tired of you doing X, Y, and Z. I'm frustrated. You have every right to yell at me and say those things. I don't think that's off the table. I don't think you have to be dainty and deferential. I don't think you have to be completely rude, but I don't see any problem with saying, Mitt Romney, your vote to impeach Donald Trump was crap. And I'm mad about it, and here's why. You deserve that. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Let's listen. Representative Malloy actually, in the end, thanked the crowd for coming.
I do appreciate you coming and participating. I remember when I felt like I had no way of telling anyone in Congress how I felt about the things they were doing, and I was furious. And there was no outlet for that because I didn't know where to go to get questions answered. So I hope, even if you hated everything I said tonight, even if you hate me and you hope I get hit by a bus tonight, I hope you at least appreciate that there is a place you can come and express your feelings. We talked a lot about the First Amendment. It is alive and well.
All right, when Inside Sources returns, we're going to have a conversation with Representative Mike Kennedy about last night's town hall, and we'll ask him some questions after the break.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top local story. Housing advocates have sent a letter to the governor asking him to veto a bill that would get rid of property tax relief and replace it with a deferral program. Among them is Zoe Newman, project manager for the Utah Housing Coalition. She says people involved in housing low-income and senior Utahns need to be involved in the process.
Don't just do that, during the legislative session and in this bill, but we need to do it in a study. It needs to be strategic, and then something like that can be laid out.
Newman says taking it to the interim will allow those who currently have tax relief to continue it while researchers look into other possible solutions. 2 people are recovering from chemical burns after a chemical explosion in American Fork earlier this week. The Lehigh Fire Department says multiple agencies responded to the hazardous materials situation on Wednesday and were able to neutralize the chemicals involved. The 2 people who were hurt have been transported to a burn unit for treatment. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The first plane has landed at London's Heathrow Airport since a fire at an electrical substation shuttered Europe's busiest air travel hub. The British Airways jet touched down about 18 hours after the airport was closed due to a massive power outage. Now with the KSL bracket update, here's Jason Jones.
Colorado State has taken the lead over Memphis now. 4 points, 52-48, about 13:20 left in that game there. Duke has opened up an early 14-point lead, now 16-point lead over Mount St. Mary's. 10 minutes left in the first half there. Earlier, it was Baylor getting the win over Mississippi State, 75-72. Alabama, 90-81 over Robert Morris, and Iowa State, 82-55 over Lipscomb. With your KSL NCAA Tournament Bracket Update, I'm Jason Jones.
Follow NCAA Tournament updates and all other sports updates on KSLSports.com. Looks like more storms on the way. An update of the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part 1 in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result? Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
As a fan, you know all the important sports cliches. And when you save money by bundling your home and auto with Progressive, you can get out there and give it 110%, even though that's mathematically impossible. And remember, failure is not an option. Well, it's always an option, just not a good one. But you're not worried because you've got ice in your veins. You're on fire. How can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, that's between you and your doctor. So get out there and leave it all on the field. Leave what? Who cares? Just leave it and save with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-275-1728. That's 800-275-1728.
At Intermountain Children's Health, we've created a bold plan called Primary Promise to build the nation's model health system for children. Help us achieve this once-in-a-generation vision so together we can bring the world-class care of Primary Children's Hospital closer to home for every child in our communities. For more than a century, Primary Children's has kept the child first and always. Join us for the next 100 years. To learn more, visit primarypromise.org.
Hi, this is Congresswoman Celeste Malloy. We all know distant federal agencies don't always work for everyday Utahns.
but I do. So if you need assistance taking on the IRS, navigating Social Security claims, or getting answers from any agency, please call my office or visit us online at malloy.house.gov. As your Congresswoman, I'll help you get through the red tape and get the answers you need from the federal government. I'm Celeste Malloy, and it's an honor to be your voice in Washington and to fight for your Utah families.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have an accident causing some delays northbound I-15 prior to 2100 south. It's mostly to the right, and it's also in the clearing stages, but slowing back to 33rd south, and the final cleanup of a crash at 13th east, about 2400 south. Our 100th spring is right around the corner, and Murdoch Hyundai can help you take those curves in style. Right now, receive 2.99% for 6 years on the Tucson, Santa Fe, Elantra, or Sonata. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And the clouds have moved in. That means more showers are headed our way. 20% chance today, 60% chance tomorrow. But then it looks like partly cloudy on Sunday and up to a high of 64 on Monday, 69 on Tuesday. Right now, mostly cloudy skies, 48 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
We are continuing our discussion on last night's town hall held at the University of Utah. Angry constituents and probably others showed up yelling and booing at Representatives Mike Kennedy and Celeste Malloy. It wasn't a very happy place. People said they were scared and frustrated with the direction of the country. This segment, we're going to be chatting with the one and only Representative Mike Kennedy about last night. Representative Kennedy, I hope you got some much-needed rest after last night, and thank you for joining the show.
That we did, and I hope you and Leah don't yell at me while we're having this conversation, but we're ready for it if you do, because we were all warmed up after last night.
We just
I don't think you do that. But
we just did a whole segment on like being civil, so I feel like we can't. We'll yell at you later.
Yeah, that's fine.
I want to ask, first of all, I admire you for doing town halls. They're not always easy, and they take a lot of time away from your family to get into the district. And so for that, we really appreciate you. You decided to hold a town hall right in Salt Lake for your very first town hall as a congressman. Talk to us about why you decided to hold the town hall, and why did you decide, how did the partnership with Representative Malloy come together?
So Congresswoman Malloy was actually going to do the town hall, and I just said, hey, I don't want you to have to do that yourself. Let's do it together. She was agreeable to that, and we decided to. Actually, I've already done an in-person town hall about 4 weeks ago in Highland, so Utah County. So I've done 2 of my major counties in my district, and I've got 13 counties. I'm planning on being in person in every single one of them by the end of the year. 12 months, 13 counties, we'll make it happen. We're already well on our way after 75 days of being in office. I've already had multiple meetings, community meetings, and 2 major county town halls, and we'll continue to do those. I think it's important for us to be with the people.
So I'm wondering, Representative, in a Facebook post after the event, you said, the disruptive behavior displayed was an unfortunate reflection of the way the left has operated our country for the last 4 years. Do you think it's really only Democrats who are to blame for this kind of, what I'd say, heated atmosphere, like rising temperature in our politics?
Congresswoman Malloy was asked if she would impeach Donald Trump, and everybody in the room, excluding a few people, wanted to impeach Donald Trump. So it seems like that room was full of individuals who generally aren't supportive of President Trump or myself and Congresswoman Malloy, but those are some of our constituents as well. We're happy to hear from them. The reality is we go through the feckless Biden administration's policies and the way they approach things. Force was the way they did things. In fact, I watched the COVID mandates. If you don't wear a mask, we're firing you. If you don't get your shot, then we're terminating your military service, and so on and so forth. And withholding funds and unconstitutional overreach with shutting down schools, shutting down churches. Yeah, that's how Biden administration ran things. And I believe these people think violence and force. Many of them think violence and force is the way to get things done. I'll just tell you, Leah, I was trying to answer questions that these people had given, and all I got was yells and boos. You couldn't even hear my answer. I couldn't even hardly hear my answer. I've got 8 kids. I'm used to that. This is not a problem at all. The kids are constantly not listening. So, I mean, that's just how it is. But I found that from grown adults to be shocking behavior, is unrepresentative of the good people of Utah. And I think they should be embarrassed at their behavior. We were just trying to answer questions, and all we got back were boos and middle fingers and expletives of various sorts. I don't think that's civil discourse, but some people think that's their way to approach things.
Okay, so for someone who is a Democrat or a Republican who doesn't like Donald Trump or the way the country is going, someone who's really feels like, hey, we're not being listened to, we have a difference of opinion, we're upset. What's the best way for them to contact you and your office so they feel like they've been listened to, so they feel like they've been heard?
We field hundreds of phone calls in the district and in the Washington office, and my staff and I are ready to listen to people. I've told my staff we will not listen to expletives and violence, but if somebody has an issue, my offices in Washington and Utah are open and ready to serve, because there are issues with passports. There's issues with green cards. There's issues that people have with their benefits, whether it be veterans or otherwise, and we want to make sure that those things function. The people last night did not want to listen, and we listened to them. We were happy to take their expletives and their yells in one way or another, but it's not a very healthy way for us to communicate. There are ways to do that. We're happy to do that through the office process, and we'll continue town halls through the district as we've already done.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think I want to be clear, like, I absolutely would encourage civil discourse, right? So I agree with you. But, you know, some of the texts we were talking in an earlier segment, Representative, and I was saying you really shouldn't be screaming, and someone texted in, but people who are screaming feel that their government's really not listening to them. And earlier today, someone texted into KSL during the Dave and Dujanovic show, you've got to remember people are scared. They're scared to lose Medicare. They're going to lose Medicaid, and fear is driving this. Like, how do you respond, to that, right? Like, how do you answer? Maybe this is fear-driven, and that's why we're seeing some of this heat at these town halls.
Fascinating on that, Leah. Thank you, because there was a lot of emotionality last night, and there are various institutions of whatever sort that fear-mongering is their modus operandi. That's what they do. They fear-monger, and they talk about cuts to vital programs. And I said explicitly last night, I've been taking care of people in Medicare and Medicaid as a doctor for 25 years. I know these people by name. I love my patients, and I'm happy to serve them. The idea that I would allow those programs to be damaged in some ways so they can't work is nonsense. I will fight vigorously to make sure that those programs work. And in fact, President Trump, over and over again, in spite of the fear-mongering that these people believe, has said he is not, and the Republican conference are not interested in cutting those programs. But, Leah, on the other side, and for Adam as well, waste, fraud, and abuse, the way that some of these funds are being used are outrageous. And these people last night did not want to listen. All they wanted to do is yell. So the idea of, well, I'm scared, so I yell, I don't think that that's a very healthy communication tactic. But this room was not full of average citizens. This room was full of partisans who are interested in expressing themselves violently. And in that case, Leah, I'll just tell you, town halls are essentially of no value. I mean, you can say that those are heard, but people could go on a corner and have a protest and yell and scream all they want. That's about as effective. We should have had a two-way conversation. These people are just yelling the whole time, and they couldn't even hear me answer the questions. Celeste Malloy, as she's trying to answer the questions, we couldn't even be heard in spite of the fact we had microphones because of these people's outbursts.
So we only have about 15 seconds left, but you mentioned you held a town hall in Highland. How was that different than your town hall in Salt Lake?
It was actually much better. We had good police presence, and it was much more civil. We could have much better conversation. I was kind of ashamed of the approach last night, but we're going to continue to work with good people of Utah, listen to, and try to serve them the best we can.
Representative Mike Kennedy, thank you so much for being on the show. We hope you'll keep coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Next on Inside Sources, we will continue our special coverage of last night's town hall and speak with Representative Celeste Malloy about what happened and where she'll go from here. Stay with us.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it. Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Jackson Hewitt wants you to save money on tax prep. We're saving money by having our intern rap in this commercial.
Don't stress. Jackson Hewitt's got expert tax prep, $149 or less. Yo, some tax guys lie about price. They got hidden fees, that ain't nice. Ain't nice. Don't ignore MC Kevin's rhyme, because this deal's for a limited time. $149.
For tax prep that's $149 or less, hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
No cap.
Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served. Or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a 3rd-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Emergency. They kidnapped my son. What would you do if your child disappeared and someone you trusted was responsible?
We thought he cared for McKay, when in fact he didn't care for anyone.
Listen to Ransom now at ransompodcast.com.
8 minutes, 28 seconds left in the game, and Colorado State is on a run. They've opened up a 10-point lead. Well, now 8 points as Memphis just scored. 64-56 is that score there. Duke with a 22-point lead over Mountain St. Mary's, 44-22. And early on, it is St. Mary's and Vanderbilt all knotted up at 11 each. Earlier winners was Baylor, Alabama, and Iowa State. Got some intriguing matchups coming up a little bit later. We'll chat about those in a bit as well. With your KSL NCAA Tournament Bracket Update, I'm Jason Jones.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Congresswoman Celeste Malloy was there with Representative Mike Kennedy last night, facing anger and criticism from a crowd of voters, voicing frustrations with federal cuts being pushed by DOJ and President Trump. And the thing is, we hear you, right? So we are getting a lot of text saying that representatives aren't listening again, and that they're not, basically when Representative Kennedy says something, if you don't hear exactly what you want to hear, that doesn't necessarily, Adam, mean he's not listening to you, right? So I just kind of want to drive home the point. In a civil discourse, active listening doesn't necessarily mean I get what I want. Active listening acknowledges the differences in the human I'm listening to, right? And learning to kind of love past and through those differences.
So when they respond and they say, well, I disagree with you, here's what I really think, that you're being heard. They're listening to you. You just don't like the answer that you're receiving.
That's right. That's right. And a little bit, I feel I want to just acknowledge the energy we're getting in text. That was probably way lower than the energy that Congresswoman Celeste Malloy got last night at that town hall. Welcome to the show, Congresswoman.
Hi, how are you guys?
We're good.
My voice is still a little bit sore from last night. I don't know if you can hear that or not.
No, I totally hear it. You should drink some water with honey in it or something. I think is what my...
You should drink something stronger, too, if you want.
Right. I want to ask...
I am currently on the side of I-15, so I will not be drinking anything strong.
That's good.
Congresswoman, can I just ask you, my goodness, why did you decide to hold a town hall against, and I think I know what the answer is, but I want to ask you and have you answer it, even though I know congressional leadership on the Republican side has kind of been saying, these have not been going well across the country, maybe we shouldn't have them. Like, why did you think that mattered?
Well, I started off the town hall last night by giving them that answer. I think we can do this in Utah. I think we know how to have hard conversations and that we can talk when we disagree. I heard your lead in about, just because somebody doesn't agree with you doesn't mean they're not listening. And I think we're actually pretty good at that in Utah. Last night, my chief of staff reminded me that when he was doing federal attorney work, the first conversation you had with a witness, with a informant didn't usually go well because you have to have more than one conversation to build up that trust. And I think that's probably a lot of what we're seeing right now. Trust is really low in our institutions, in politics, in our neighbors, and the first conversation is hostile because we're not ready to give each other the benefit of the doubt that we're really there to listen and to answer questions. And so we've got the first conversation. That was actually the second town hall I've done this year. And I'll do more, and we'll keep having the conversations until people feel heard or give up and stop coming. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do think being there is important.
Where was your first town hall that you did, and how was this town hall different than that one?
My first one was in Grantsville, and the difference is people didn't have to drive as far to get to this one. So most of the people who asked questions at my Grantsville town hall actually came out from Salt Lake County. And I told them, some of them complained, you made us drive an hour to talk to you. I said, you really didn't have to. My next one's in Salt Lake County. But the one last night was bigger, and Mike Kennedy was there with me. And so they had two members of Congress to talk to. And the dynamic was just very different. But both of them are important.
Yeah, it's interesting, Congresswoman, and my real job, I'm a political science professor. And one of the things I teach about Congress is very low approval rating institutionally, right? Can you talk to us about, because we listened to sound from you last night where you were telling the people you used to feel frustrated because you didn't know how to talk to Congress. What is it about Congress that gets people so frustrated? I mean, why is it, that your institution seems to catch all of the flack whenever anyone is frustrated?
I think at least part of the reason, I'm inside now. I don't have much perspective on it, but I was on the outside. And And the thing that frustrated me then is that these decisions are being made in Washington, D.C. by a group of people. You know, when the executive branch does something and people are frustrated, they know who to point at. It's the president. But when Congress is doing things, you've got 435 members scattered all over the country who are each going back to their constituents and saying, I'm doing my best to represent you, but the body as a whole has to come to a consensus on things. That you've got to get a majority in order for anything to pass. And so a lot of times the things that really matter to you in your area just get drowned out in that larger conversation. And then it's hard. You don't get a chance to talk to the people who are drowning out your issues. And I can't fix all of that, but I can be available to the people I represent so they at least feel like I'm hearing their concerns. I know of the 833,000 people I represent, not all of them voted for me. Not all of them approve of the job I'm doing. Not all of them feel like I'm lined up with them politically. But I hope they at least know that I'm here and I'm willing to show up.
You know, I appreciate that answer. You've got a lot of Democrats in your district, not a lot compared to some other districts, but you've got a lot of Democrats, liberals. You have Republicans who are maybe disaffected with the Trump administration. Is there ever an opportunity, even though you are a very conservative Republican, is there ever opportunities for Congress or for you in particular to push back against President Trump and his administration or some decisions that may not be as popular? Has there been any opportunity to do that?
Yeah, I told the story last night. Now I feel like it's taking on epic proportions that it probably shouldn't. But when I found out that all of the all the probationary employees at the agencies had been laid off, I did call the White House and I said, I support shrinking these agencies, making them more nimble and accountable and efficient. I've been a very active proponent of that, but I think this was the wrong way to do it. I think this decision was a mistake. And they were shockingly willing to engage with me on that and ask questions, told me I wasn't the only one they were hearing from, and they did end up rolling back that order.
Yeah, no, I was thinking I heard sound from last night. Oh, I'm so sorry, Congresswoman.
It's okay. Yeah. I've been hoarse for weeks.
I heard sound from last night. I was not at your town hall talking about like specifically national parks, right? I felt like you were trying to say,
yeah.
You know, and maybe that's the problem with the message somehow, right? Like it's how did you want them to be more nimble, but maybe
more efficient.
And when it comes out via, you know, an Elon Musk like sound machine, if you will, it comes out as just cut. Like how, you know, and I hear you that the White House listened and rolled back some of that order, but it's interesting. Like it feels like, man, they should have you talking about it, Congresswoman, because probably you're making the case
offered.
better. Yeah.
So how do you assuage those fears?
Yeah.
I think you have to keep having the conversation until people are ready to listen. So even last night, somebody asked, like, what about the Park Service? They bring in so much money. Why would you lay anyone off at the Park Service? And the truth is, and Adam, I know you know this from the work you used to do, the Park Service is not actually bringing in more money than they cost the American taxpayers. And they all have this big backlog of, you know, maintenance. We do need to take a look at the Park Service and see how we can do it better. But the crowd last night wasn't ready to hear that. So when I said, shouldn't we look at the Park Service and see what's working, what's not, they yelled no. And I'm not sure people really believe we shouldn't be looking at agencies. I think they're just mad right now, and they don't want to give any ground to what they view as, you know, the Doge machine and Elon. And I even asked last night, do you know how many federal employees Bill Clinton laid off? And most people booed, but one person yelled, yeah, and he balanced the budget. And I thought, well, thank you for giving my answer for me. That's exactly where I'm headed with this. Like, both sides of the aisle have known for a long time that we are not going to get out of the financial situation we're in without making cuts.
Right.
You know, taxes are part of it, but cuts have to be part of it too. And a strong economy is absolutely necessary. So we're going to have to make some tough choices about what we cut, how we tax, and what policies we have to keep the
Representative
economy strong.
Malloy, I'm sorry, we got to end it right there. We have a hard break coming up, but we'll be back on Inside Sources right after this.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story. Representative Celeste Malloy is giving her take on the contentious town hall that she hosted last night. She tells David Dujanovic a lot of people seem to be venting their frustrations about the current administration's moves instead of letting her speak to their questions.
I can't make anybody like what I have to say, but I do feel like it's important to show up and answer questions. I wish the people who are willing to drive to the U, be in the room, would be more invested in getting answers than in just yelling.
She was booed several times throughout the town hall, including when she said the country is not going to get out of its current financial situation without feeling some pain. Despite the chaos, Malloy says she still plans to continue doing town halls in the future. Our top national story from ABC News. President Trump says federal student loans will now be handled by the Small Business Administration, while the Department of Health and Human Services will handle special needs and nutritional programs.
What the Trump administration is trying to do here is trying to break the agency up, take its functions and either give them to other federal agencies or give them back, as they say, to the states, while acknowledging they can't really do away with this agency without an act of Congress, which it does not look likely.
That is ABC's Jay O'Brien. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow up by 32 points at the close, sitting at 41,985. S&P up by 4. The NASDAQ up at 93 points. This KSL Bracket Update with Jason Jones.
No major upsets so far today, but we got one brewing right now down in the West region. It's number 12 seed Colorado 68, Memphis 61. About 3.5 minutes left in that game there. Vanderbilt leads St. Mary's 16-13. 7 minutes left in the first half there. Cooper Flagg looks pretty healthy to me, and he'll get most of the second half off, I think, as Duke goes to the half. 54-28, better than Mount St. Mary's. And earlier winners, of course, were Baylor, Alabama, and Iowa State. With your KSL NCAA Tournament Bracket Update, I'm Jason Jones.
Follow the NCAA Tournament updates and all other sports updates at KSLSports.com. Clouds have moved in. That means a bit of snow showers for your Saturday. We'll get an update of the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time 2:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors to tell you about our 10-year everything guarantee. Most contractors spout off having great warranties that last forever. But those warranties are always, and I do mean always, riddled with loopholes, exception, fine print, and nonsense. At RGS Exteriors, we cover everything. Parts, labor, material, everything and anything for 10 full years. There's no cost to you whatsoever. No hoops to jump through, no exceptions. Yes, the products we sell, like James Hardy Siding, our windows, gutter covers, come with a 25 to 50-year manufacturer's warranty, just like everybody else. But the truth is, the products almost never fail. It's always the labor and material which is never covered, so you're stuck paying for service calls. For peace of mind, call RGS Exteriors. You'll sleep easy for 10 full years. 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online rgsutah.com. Gutters, siding, windows, and all exteriors with the 10-year everything guarantee.
Do you want to make your house more comfortable, more energy efficient, more valuable?
Well, maybe it's time you took a look at your doors and windows. And there's nobody around who does doors and windows better than Peach Doors and Windows.
Improve the functionality of your home with custom replacement windows, entry doors, patio doors. Maybe you have a sunroom or you want a new custom front door and windows to maximize the beauty of your home. Peach offers flexible financing available to fit any budget. They've got expert installation, including fiberglass doors, which are their specialty. And they'll replace your windows with the highest energy efficiency rating.
And customer service is a top priority. It's the reason why they have so many 5-star reviews on Google. You can check it out for yourself. You can also check them out online at peachbuildingproducts.com. You can call for a free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255.
Or see them in person, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Go check out their beautiful showroom. It's Peach Doors and Windows.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a couple of crashes on I-15. If you're headed southbound in Davis County, an accident in Clearfield near Center Street. That left lane is blocked to traffic with emergency crews at the scene. Then in Sandy, also on southbound I-15, an accident just after 90th South. It's mostly to the right shoulder at one point, had been partially blocking a right lane, and that one is causing delays already back into Murray. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialist. Whipple that away. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Temperatures climbing over the next 7 days. We're starting out at 52 for a high today, but up to 75 degrees by next Thursday. A 60% chance of snow, rain for your Saturday, and then mostly cloudy on Sunday. Right now, 50 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome to the second hour of Inside Sources on KSL News Radio. I'm Adam Gardner here with Leah Murray. While U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says vandalism and attacks on Tesla vehicles will be considered domestic terrorism, Utah Governor Spencer Cox says Tesla vandals should be imprisoned. So where's the line between vandalism and domestic terrorism?
Tesla. Clearly, that's the line.
That's the line. It looks like that T. That's the line. Which they carry very different punishments, right? So it's not just vandalism. You're not spray painting a wall in downtown Salt Lake. This is considered domestic terrorism, a much bigger deal.
So first of all, I want to just say it's interesting that this came into our conversation today because a colleague of mine yesterday posted on Facebook this long treatise about how he has a Tesla because he's trying to save the planet and his family has 3 Teslas, and it was a whole big thing. And I was like, I don't understand what's happening. Like, do we all have to confess what our car purchases are? I'm not sure. But now I'm wondering if he's thinking he will be vandalized.
No, it's 100%.
Yeah, okay.
So you're seeing folks that are, I've seen this a lot over X, where they're, who was it? Mark Kelly, Senator Kelly from Arizona. He had a Tesla, drove a Tesla. Elon Musk on Twitter called him a traitor to our country, which is insane. He was a
Why? Because he was an astronaut?
No, because he went to Ukraine and said we should be allies with Ukraine, and Elon Musk called him a traitor, even though he's a war veteran, which is just crazy. So Elon was completely wrong. And then he sells his Tesla publicly and buys a Chevy Suburban and goes, I've traded. Well, it's kind of funny. The whole argument is we're buying electric cars to save the environment, to be better for the environment. And that's kind of going out the window now because of Elon, because he's the messenger, the bad guy here. So I've seen a lot of pictures with people driving Teslas, and they have bumper stickers that say Elon with a line through it, a circle over Elon with a line through it, saying, we're not one of those Tesla people. But then you're seeing the president of the United States standing up as Tesla's stock is just completely tanking, and he's standing up and doing a giant commercial for Teslas at the White House and saying, this is the greatest thing ever, talk about the self-driving features. And he invites senators who then all post on their social media. You had Ted Cruz say, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, well, you should get out more. They've been around for a while. And so Tesla is not just a car company anymore. they are. It's not everything is connected to Elon all the time. They're still great, cool cars and really fun to drive, and they're really fast and they're decent for the environment. So the point here is Tesla has become just this lightning rod and of the political spectrum of how you identify with Elon.
Got it. So if you have a Tesla and you consider yourself a liberal, you now have to do some splaining.
Yeah, you got to be.
Right,
you got to.
right.
You've got to maybe be worried how you're going to be perceived.
So explain to me why it is that if you vandalize a Tesla, it's domestic terrorism. Wouldn't that already, like, do we need a new level of crime for that? I mean, I feel like if someone vandalized my car, isn't that already criminal activity?
So it is, but they're going to be very different, especially because if I vandalize someone's car or if I cause X number of X amount of damage, I shouldn't say X because that's another company that Elon owns. But if it's a certain amount of money, I can be charged by the county, the state will charge me for a crime. If this is domestic terrorism, if I am doing it because of a political reason or a political statement,
a hate crime.
It's essentially a hate crime, but it's a federal crime. So now I'm going to be charged in federal courts under the jurisdiction of the Trump DOJ. So it's much different. That's why Pam Bondi is coming out and saying, like, this isn't Sim Gill that's going to be charging you. This is going to be the United States of America that's going to be charging you for terrorism.
All right. So KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas, our friend on the Inside Sources show as well, told Dave and Dujanovic this morning they had a conversation about whether it is domestic terrorism or not.
They are not crimes against the United States. The January 6th insurrection was a crime against the United States. That was a classic example of domestic terrorism. But a crime against Elon Musk, even though he might think he's the government, is not a crime against the government.
Well, it's actually not a crime against Elon Musk. If you vandalize my Tesla, it's a crime against me, right? Like if it's my property that you are vandalizing.
What we're seeing is they're going to Tesla dealerships and setting fire to Teslas in parking lots, in dealerships.
But again, then that's the dealership, right? It's so again, I don't understand why.
My argument would be if I go, first of all, I think he is correct on the January 6th stuff. Like we pardon violent criminals who committed crimes and tased cops. That's never been a conservative or a liberal way of thinking. Like a classically liberal way of thinking is like we should uphold the rule of law. So was that like a domestic terror situation? Sure. Yeah, you can make that argument. But my argument is if there is a terrorist attack on a football game, let's say, I feel nervous saying this on the air, but you get what I'm saying. So if there's some sort of terrorist attack, like at a football game or at a soccer game or wherever, I would consider that terrorism. And I'm not as smart as Greg, so I don't know the legal definitions here. But what we're saying is, well, that's not terrorism because that's not a crime against the government. We're just doing it that's a crime against the NFL. That's a crime against Major League Soccer. I don't think that's accurate either.
Right.
If they're doing it, if the intent is violence for a political purpose and to make a political statement or a religious statement, then maybe it could be considered terrorism. And I don't know if they're very far off base, but I do think we need to be honest and call both sides out. When you have the left going after courthouses in Oregon and setting fire to courthouses, the Antifa movement, that is terrorism. And when you have the right doing it at the Capitol building, that's a form of terrorism. So we need to be honest on both sides here of what constitutes terrorism and vandalism. They are very different, but what the administration is saying is we're going to take this out of state hands and we're putting it into the federal government.
Do you think the fact that they have pardoned all the people who were involved with the attack on the Capitol on January 6th really kind of lowers any moral high ground they have in this conversation? Like maybe I'm having my flip response because they are not like calling it out on both sides.
Yes, but you're also not like if you're setting fire to Teslas in a parking lot, your guy's not in charge anymore, so you're not going to get pardoned. So even if you feel emboldened or flippant or whatever, you're going to be on the losing side of that right now. And when we had all these folks being charged civilly or not civilly, but locally in Oregon, they were all getting let off by leftist attorneys, by prosecutors. So if Trump actually would have done his job and said, hey, you guys attacked a courthouse, we're going to charge you in federal court, then I think that would have been a great argument too. So maybe they just woken up and are starting to do it right now. Coming up on Inside Sources, Utah Senator Mike Lee is calling for restrictions on federal judges who block presidential orders. Let's talk about that and how it relates to checks and balances. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part one in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result, Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and it's time once again for our free furnace sale, where you buy a new air conditioner and we give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free. You just pay the labor. And here's the best part. There's up to $5,600 in rebates and tax incentives available right now that can help you stack even more savings on top of this already amazing deal. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner, don't miss this opportunity to offset the cost by using someone else's money. To learn more, all you have to do is contact Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. One of our HVAC supervisors will come to your home, show you exactly how much you can save with our free furnace sale, and walk you through how to collect every dollar of rebate incentives your new system qualifies for. We even have a rebate support specialist to help you if you have questions. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. Google Any Hour Services or schedule a free estimate online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Do you have some money in a savings account? If you do, I want to suggest that you earn more money on that money by transferring your savings account over to UCCU.
Utah Community Credit Union is offering high-rate savings options with yields up to 5%. That is a lot higher than any savings account.
Right, so your average savings account is 0.5%, 0.5%, but UCCU has these 9-month savings certificates at a whopping 5% rate of return.
Now, savings certificates, like a savings account, they're great ways to earn a safe return on your money, but the difference is a savings account, you deposit, you withdraw, but with a savings certificate, you just make the deposit and you let your money earn some money for you.
You're going to be saving so much money at UCCU.
5%, that's more than 5 times higher than a standard savings account.
Earn more money on that money.
With yields up to 5%. That is a lot higher than any savings account.
Just go to uccu.com, select a high-yield savings option, and supercharge your savings.
At Utah Community Credit Union, you're going to love where you bank.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
I mean, it happens every year, so do we still consider a 12-5 upset an actual upset? I don't know. Colorado State does it today, 78-70 over the 5-seeded Memphis Tigers, so they will move on. Also, Iowa State earlier winner, Alabama and Baylor. North Carolina is trying to prove to everybody that they actually belong in the tournament. They are right now playing Ole Miss. It's in the 6-11 game there. 18-10, Ole Miss has the early lead. And just to go into the half, Vanderbilt over St. Mary's 29-22. With your KSL NCAA tournament bracket update, I'm Jason Jones.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Utah Senator Mike Lee is calling for restrictions on federal judges who rule against President Trump's orders. Senator Lee says, quote, "A single judge shouldn't have the power to overturn presidential policy decisions," end quote. I feel like he held this firmly during Biden's administration as well. On this segment, I would like to have a conversation with you, Adam. Sorry.
You're laughing.
About checks and balances and the overall separation of powers. But yeah, right there, a little bit of a dig from me on Senator Lee, because absolutely he would have supported the Supreme Court or judges, single judges, Fifth Circuit Court judges, overturning things that President Biden was doing. It feels to me like when it's his team, then the judges should not be doing that.
Well, Stephen Miller, who is an aide to President Trump and worked for him in the first Trump administration, he did a big, long press conference or it wasn't, I guess, really a press conference. He went on CNN and he said, no judge is allowed to block what President Trump wants to do. These are executive orders. No single judge should have the authority to check the president, especially on immigration issues. So there's the big issue where some immigrants didn't have due process before they were deported, and not even to their home country, but to a different country.
To El Salvador.
They were deported. They were Venezuelans deported to El Salvador, and they didn't have due process. And he said no judge has the power by law to check the president on this, which is not true at all. And he said no one should be able to create these injunctions. And President Trump is a victim because he's had more injunctions more than any other president this quickly into his term. My argument would be, well, you've done you've done hundreds of executive orders, so your odds of it being higher, of doing unconstitutional things, or at least having the court say, well, hold on, you can't do this yet until we actually try this in the court.
Right, when you swing more strikes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree. But then I got curious and I started doing some research on Stephen Miller after he made these statements, and found some fun tweets. Twitter always remembers, right? So in September of 2021, he tweets out, Biden is continuing to defy a federal court injunction. Then in 2022, he says, breaking, a federal judge has enjoined Biden's executive actions that functionally abolished ICE and shielded tens of thousands of criminal aliens from deportation. America First Legal, which is who he worked for, was proud to work with Arizona, Ohio, and others in this landmark case. So he sued multiple times to do the exact same thing to the Biden administration. And you know what? As a Republican, I was glad that we stopped a lot of the things that the Biden administration was doing. The most famous one is the student loan fiasco, where he said, I'm going to forgive everyone's student loans just by the wave of my hand, which was like totally illegal. And then so they sued, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they said, you can't do this, and he did it anyway. And he stood up and said, I defied the Supreme Court. If we are not going to be okay with that response, we can't be okay with it now.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Like, checks and balances are not about which team it is. The answer is, if you have horizontal separation of powers, which I think is the genius invention of the Founding Fathers in the United States Constitution, those horizontal powers, right, include the courts being able to tell the president no. And if you don't like it, then what you have to do next is pass a constitutional amendment.
So I agree with that. And here's I'm going to say something where I'm really proud of Senator Lee for not falling into this trap. I see every day Elon Musk and Donald Trump are tweeting out, this judge needs to be impeached. Impeach this judge who ruled against President Trump. That is dangerous and stupid. And even Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts, had to come out and say that this is unacceptable. Stop talking about impeaching everyone who disagrees with you. That's not in the Constitution. You can't do that. Lee didn't fall into this trap, and I like his perspective more than the let's impeach him folks, because he's saying, okay, no, we're not saying impeach everybody. What we're saying is maybe Congress should create different guardrails and parameters around the judicial branch, which they're entitled to do. And so if you can get something like that passed where and it's the Senate, so you're going to have 60 votes. You're going to have to get Democrats on board with this. If we can find some guardrails that we can put on the judicial branch where both sides are agreeing we're seeing a problem, then maybe that is an okay solution.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. It's like it can't. If I'm angry when you block my team and you're angry when they block your team, maybe there's some kind of guardrails in the middle.
We're sick that you guys use this argument, so let's take that away from them.
Take that one away. I like that you raised impeachment. Can we just talk about that for a second? Republican lawmakers have been impeaching. So there's 5 federal judges facing a House GOP impeachment attempt. So what we see there, this is my favorite one. He overstepped his authority, compromised the impartiality of the judiciary, and created a constitutional crisis. I'm not sure the judge saying Trump can't do something creates the constitutional crisis, because for 240 years, judges have been saying presidents can't do something. I think the constitutional crisis might be the fact that Congress is not engaging in the horizontal checks and balances. So basically what Congress is doing is saying the only branch here left to stop the executive branch is the judiciary. And the answer is no, actually you have a role to play too, and you shouldn't be doing everything he tells you, and you shouldn't be impeaching judges when they don't do what he says.
If Congress can't step up and create policy and create law, then it's understandable that when Congress doesn't plan for AI, when they don't plan for self-driving cars, when they don't plan for whatever is coming up next, and then something happens in that space, there's going to be lawsuits, and the judicial system has no reference point to work on, and so they end up creating their own laws. And yeah, you can argue that's a problem. And if it really is a problem, if it's such a big deal, then I think Congress is the one that has to create the laws. If you agree with President Trump and his actions, awesome. Codify it. Pass a bill. Let's make it real.
That's right. Yeah, and exactly. So that's like the more positive side of that. I appreciate that, Adam, because I was saying you should be checking him. But also you could be passing laws to make what he's doing legal.
Yeah.
Right. I like that.
If we don't think due process should be given to illegal immigrants, or we want to deport you, even though you're supposed to go to Venezuela, we want to send you to El Salvador, we're going to pass a law. We're going to actually pass a bill that says here's what Congress is allowed to do. And then we're going to, you know what, that's still going to be challenged because that's how it works in this country.
And by the way, it should be. That's the point, right? Yeah. So a little bit. So I appreciate your defense of Senator Lee for not falling in that trap. But I'm going to tell you what. I mean, I think part of the checks and balances is the judges interpreting the law. In the absence of clear guidance from Congress, if the president is doing something that the court says we don't actually have a law here, so we're interpreting what we know to be true, right? How do I say?
Well, and it was kind of funny to watch this exchange between a White House reporter, and the press secretary, where she stood up and she said a radical left-wing judge, an activist judge, ruled an Obama appointee, and then the reporter said, I just want you to know, I think it should be clarified that George W. Bush is the one that appointed that judge.
Right.
And then he was elevated by Barack Obama. So he was a Republican judge, and he was confirmed 98-0. So and it's like, we got to be more careful with our arguments and be kind of intellectually honest. When you're it's harder to do that when you're standing at that podium.
That's right.
Next on Inside Sources, Utah Republicans have always been a bit of a different kind, especially when compared to the National Republican Party. But as ideologies conflict and clash, where will Utah's Republican Party end up? More on that coming up next.
Good afternoon. It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top local story this half hour. Far West residents are speaking out about a dangerous intersection where a 9-year-old girl lost her life after a car crash last month. Emily Shoup asked the city for help at a city council meeting.
We asked for an additional crossing guard. I don't know if that's feasible. We asked for just an additional police presence. I know that they've been there in the weeks following the accident, which has been super helpful.
The intersection already has a crossing guard, which is unusual for an intersection that also has a traffic light, but the city deemed it necessary. UDOT plans on lowering the speed limit on 2700, but there are no plans to do the same on 2000 West. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump says Boeing will produce a 6th-generation fighter jet for the U.S. ABC News Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz has more.
President Trump and Pete Hegseth finally said this is the way we're going to do it. There had been a pause in the Air Force, but it is a 6th-generation fighter. China is also working on a 6th-generation fighter, so we're kind of neck and neck in that arena.
It will be named the F-47, which Trump, the 47th president, calls a beautiful number. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow ending the day up 32 points, sitting at 41,985. S&P up by 5 points. The NASDAQ up by 93 points. This KSL bracket update with Jason Jones.
North Carolina not helping their cause, trying to convince people that they belong in the tournament. They're down 15 already to Ole Miss. 9 minutes left in the first half, 29-14. Ole Miss over North Carolina. Cooper Flagg's about to go to the bench here in just a few minutes because Duke is stomping all over Mount St. Mary's. 61-34 is the score there. At the half, Vandy over St. Mary's, 29-22. Your earlier winners today consisted of Baylor, Alabama, Iowa State, and Colorado State. With your KSL NCAA tournament bracket update, I'm Jason Jones.
Follow NCAA tournament updates and all other sports updates at KSLSports.com. A bit of a storm moving in. We'll check the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served. Or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a 3rd-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Spring is the perfect time to hit the road and make memories that last a lifetime. Imagine the freedom to explore, camp, and experience the outdoors together, just you and your family in your new RV from Motorsportsland. And now it's easier than ever to afford the adventure. With trailers starting at just $6 a day, you can enjoy the great outdoors without giving up the comforts of home. Other dealers sneak in hidden fees, but at Motorsportsland, we believe in honest, upfront pricing. No surprises, just great deals and friendly service from Utah's most trusted RV dealer for over 55 years. We offer free training on every RV, flexible financing options, and exclusive access to RV University where you can learn everything from towing safety to campground tips. Have an outdoor adventure without leaving the comfort of your home on wheels. Come in today and let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Motorsportsland.com.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
The crash we had in Clearfield, southbound I-15 near 7th South has cleared. All lanes are open, and those delays have eased. But delays are still a force to be reckoned with on southbound I-15 going from Murray through Sandy, where the final cleanup of crash prior to 106 South remains over to the right shoulder. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We are headed for a wet Saturday, 70% chance of a rain-snow mix tomorrow with a high of 55, 58 on Sunday. But looking into next week, a high of 75 by Wednesday. Looks like a beautiful week. Right now, 50 degrees downtown. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
The battle over the future of the Republican Party here in Utah is heating up. Current party chair Rob Axson says he will seek re-election against former gubernatorial candidate Phil Lyman. And I love talking with my good friend Adam Gardner about what it means to be a Republican. Like, what is that identity? And it did get us thinking about how this fight could shape up, what we think that looks like to the future of the party here. So, Adam, as my favorite Republican to chat with here on Inside Sources, what is happening? So, we've got a fight for the GOP party chair, and we've got Phil Lyman running for that seat against Rob Axson. What does that tell you about what's going on inside the party in this state?
So it's really interesting because Rob Axson, he was a former state director for Senator Mike Lee, very conservative, very Republican, and has done an okay job as party chair. And he was a vice chair, I believe, too. While he was working for Senator Lee, so everyone's known Rob Axson for a long time. And he's a known quantity in the Republican Party. He's been very involved. He and his wife are very involved, good people. And this last convention, Phil Lyman was running for governor, and he beat the incumbent governor badly, and everyone kind of knew that would happen. Phil Lyman recruited more delegates. The delegates are usually further to the right than mainstream Republicans. And so it was packed with Republicans with those types of views that were backing Phil Lyman. And once that happened, and once he lost, he has been very active on trying to take down the, quote, Republican establishment. I don't know what that means because it's the Trump folks that are in charge, right? So he says he aligns more with the MAGA movement, things like that. And so do the delegates. So I thought it was kind of going to be a lock. I thought Phil Lyman was going to probably walk in and win this thing. And I was glad to hear that Rob Axson was running for re-election.
Can you pause right there for just a second? So Rob just announced, I think this week, that he'll be running for re-election, which is like a month maybe later from Phil Lyman?
They're really short campaigns.
Okay, but is it the case that Lyman came in early, much earlier than Axson, in an effort to maybe
he
push
came in at the
Axson
end of
out?
last year.
Okay.
And I don't know if that was his intent. I don't think Phil Lyman cares. I think he was just going to run. And from what I'm seeing from him and his supporters is they're saying they're not saying we're going to raise a ton of money and get a lot of Republicans elected. They're running on the platform of we're going to hold Republicans that are in charge. We're going to hold their feet to the fire, and we're going to check them. And that is not the job of a Republican Party chair, and that is not the job of a Democratic Party chair in their party.
What is their job?
Their job is to get their party elected. And so, it doesn't matter what type of ideology, whoever wins the nomination, that's your candidate. And Rob did a very good job when the governor was not supported by the party because he didn't get enough votes. He had to get 40% of the votes, and I think he got like 31 or 32. Then Rob Axson was back. The party apparatus was supporting Phil Lyman in the primary because that was the party's rules. And then Phil Lyman lost to Governor Cox, and so Chair Rob Axson and the party resources shifted over to make sure that Spencer Cox was going to win the governorship against the Democrat. That's their job. He was doing their job, and they're saying, no, that was unacceptable. They should have been supporting Phil Lyman as a third-party independent candidate, which is not correct. They're supposed to back the Republican nominee, and Phil Lyman was not the Republican nominee at the end of the day.
Do you have a sense, and how do I say, like, what political tea leaves are you reading? And maybe that's, you might actually have more tangible things that you're looking at. Do you have a sense of how this pans out in May, right? So at the state convention, delegates from across the state who are Republican delegates are going to choose who their chair is going to be. If what you said is true earlier, and I think you're always right about stuff, so that most of our delegates are more right-leaning than the moderate kind of Republican mainstream, you said, not moderate, mainstream Republican. So it sounds like Phil Lyman definitely wins in May?
So I don't know about that. There's the state central committee, both parties have these, and they're kind of who governs each other's. They govern their party, right? So Republicans have a state central committee. There's about 150 people on these, and they're elected at county conventions by county delegates. And so I was paying attention to those people that were there's I think like 70 people or something that run for those seats, and in Salt Lake County they elect 25. I think those numbers are close. I don't know if they're completely accurate. So you have like 25 names that the delegates put forward of, yes, we want you to govern our party for the next 2 years. And the names on that list, you had some that were far right folks, but then you had a lot of mainstream folks that were on those lists too. And a lot of people that Phil Lyman endorsed on social media didn't make the cut and weren't really close. So I'm looking at that list and I'm thinking, hey, maybe this is going to turn out like differently than I thought. I was a delegate. I did not attend. I chose to do yard work instead. And so I wasn't there and didn't know. I don't know how it was on the ground, but I think it's going to shape up to be a more interesting conversation, a more interesting fight than we think. And those conventions are nasty. Like, it will not be this. We talked about civil discourse.
You said earlier Republicans boo themselves, right? So is
we
that what
boo
you
ourselves.
mean? Yeah.
That's what we do. So when our delegation stands up, you could have. I don't know this, but if you have John Curtis stand up, and he will get some boos, and that's going to happen with Celeste Malloy may get some boos. It's really stupid how we do that to our own. We eat our own. And so, but it could get really nasty. I hope it doesn't, and I hope there's just a straight up or down vote, and we'll see who wins.
Do you have a sense if it's Axson, like, is there any major changes, or you just kind of see more of the same out of this Utah GOP? And if it's Phil Lyman, do you see major changes? Like, what does the party look like under each of those?
I think that fundraising is the biggest issue. Okay. You have to have a party apparatus with volunteers and data and something to give candidates to help them in their run so that they actually win. And I know Rob Axson is focused on the fundraising part of things. He's raised a lot of money for the party. I don't know if that's what Phil Lyman wants to do. I don't know his platform, so I'm kind of speaking out of turn here. But I don't know if that's Phil Lyman's goal. I think his goal is to run the party and to actually kind of be in charge and decide who gets to do what. And if we see that, that could be a problem for fundraising, because a lot of the money that they raise are from wealthier Utahns who are involved in the party process, and they're usually more mainstream, and they get a lot of their money from actual candidates who have already raised money on their own. They gift to the party to make sure that it runs smoothly. We may not see that.
All right. So in our final segment on today's Inside Sources, it's college basketball. It is the dance. And my producer said we can talk about it a little bit. So we'll get to that right after the break.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
When it comes to great deals on tax prep, Jackson Hewitt isn't holding back, and neither is this commercial. Their offer is so big, it has to be said with Reverb. Expert tax prep for $149 or less. It's a deal so spectacular, it needs a symphony, some explosions, and a clock ticking, because this offer, $149 or less. And soon, one expert tax prep for $149 or less. Try Jackson Hewitt today and save. Whew. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Home sellers, do not lose money selling your home the old way. Make more money when you sell your home with a Bank Buster loan. This is Rod with the Save Right Realtor team at Realty Path. Average interest rates are in the mid to high 6s, but Save Right Realtors will market your home with a fixed rate as low as 4.75%. The ultra-low Bank Buster rate gives buyers monthly payments that are hundreds less than comparable homes. When your home is much more affordable, you get a larger pool of potential buyers who can buy your home. When buyers compare homes and see your home is hundreds less per month, you'll get a quicker offer and a higher sale price. Do not lose money selling your home the old way. Sell faster and make more money. Sell with Save Right. Sell with the Bank Buster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Teton Stage Lines, again, here offers you another warm destination getaway to escape this cold Arctic winter we've been experiencing. Join us as Glenn Rawson guides us southwards towards Mesa, Arizona as we travel in our new motor coach. This trip will start in Idaho, leaving on April 14th through the 19th. This includes round-trip motor coach, 5 nights lodging, continental breakfast, and/or buffets throughout the tour. There will be time to view the south rim of the Grand Canyon, and of course the IMAX experience. even a sunset dinner overlooking the London Bridge and Lake Havasu. You'll see the outdoor pageant, Jesus the Christ, at the Mesa Temple grounds. This 400-member cast will bring to life the birth, mission, and death of our Savior Jesus Christ. You will also have time for temple sessions in the Las Vegas and Gilbert Temple. For more information, contact Teton Stage Lines at 208-529-8036, 208-529-8036, or go online to reserve your seat now.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Cooper Flagg is on the bench as Duke has a 35-point lead. UNC might as well be on the bench because that's how they're kind of playing. And as they're down 18 now to Mississippi, 41-23. 3 minutes to go in the first half there. St. Mary's and Vanderbilt. Vandy's opened up a 9-point lead over St. Mary's, 36-27. About 16 minutes left in that game there. And nobody can score in the Maryland Grand Canyon game as we've gotten over 2 minutes now. And the score is 0-0. With your KSL NCAA Tournament Bracket Update, I'm Jason Jones.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Okay, finishing our last segment, we're going to be talking a little bit about March Madness, but we're going to do a little political twist. We're not just going to be talking about the scores. We are going to talk about some of the intrigue a little bit that's been going on. And I want to start off, Leah, have you heard what's going on with UNC?
So here's the deal. UNC should not be in March Madness. They should not be in the dance this year. A little bit. So I don't know if you watch college basketball. Like, I love college basketball, so I watch it all the time. And they just don't win. And as someone who is from the East, right, and is aware of all those teams, and you're like, how is it the case that North Carolina is not, like, wiping the floor with this team that I'm watching throughout the season? 30 games, right? They're just not as good as they used to be, not the powerhouse that you'd expect them to be. So they shouldn't have made the dance this year.
Okay, there's a little. So how did they make it? And this is what the controversy is. The North Carolina director of athletics, Bubba Cunningham, also happens to be the chair of the selection committee.
Pause, because right there, people have asked me, how do you get into the tournament? And the answer is, if you're in a conference like Weber State is in, which is Big Sky Conference, which is not one of the Power 5 conferences, you get in if you win everything and you win your conference championship. But if you're in one of the fancy pants conferences, right, like the SEC or the ACC, or like these conferences,
they all make it.
They all get in.
And it's kind of it's frustrating. They have harder schedules. They're playing against better athletes, arguably. So you can see how that works. But man, when Weber State makes it in to the tournament, it's a big deal because they had to go through so much to get there.
Can I also tell you, and actually it's interesting because we started with North Carolina, right? When I applied to Weber State and people are like, where is that? I've never heard of it. And I said, I have, because they beat North Carolina in the dance.
Yes, I remember.
Right? So I knew what Weber State was because that basketball program was one of the upsets in like the 90s against North Carolina.
It was 25 years ago.
Yep.
And I remember, maybe longer than that. We had Harold Arsenault, Eddie Gill. So I remember that team. And I remember we were watching the game with a bunch of neighbors, and the power went out in our neighborhood. And we all had to run over to a neighbor's house that had their radio, who had their radio on. And so we had tons of the neighbors in the house listening to it at the last few minutes of the game. And so the fact that like UNC gets in, they're saying there's no controversy there. We followed protocol, and I was out of the room when they made that decision. So no, I
recused myself.
And it just so happens that he had a $100,000 bonus if UNC made it into the tournament, and he was in charge of the selection committee. So I'm not saying there was anything nefarious. I wasn't in the room. It just smells. It smells a little funny.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad, and I will just tell you because I'm watching it like right now online. 41-25. They're losing.
Smoked.
Right, they're getting smoked because they shouldn't have been in the tournament.
And where it gets fun is West Virginia arguably should have made it into the tournament. They did not. So their governor directed their attorney general to sue, to investigate the NCAA. So they did a big press conference. We're going after the NCAA. We think we were robbed. This is a problem. And you can say, just get out of sports. Government doesn't belong in sport. And sure, maybe these are a lot of public universities, and it's a lot of money that that's withheld from the school if you're not making it into the
Correct.
TV contracts,
I mean,
everything
the fact
else.
that I knew who Weber State was, right? So it's not just the TV contracts.
It's recruiting.
It's recruiting next class. It's recruiting. Like if you win a bowl game, like the next day, the clicks on your college, like the number of people who might want to attend your university, all of those things go up. So it matters.
Yeah, no one's talking about Baylor outside of the tournament, right?
Right,
So
right.
so it's kind of it's turning into somewhat of a scandal, but our own BYU is playing awesome in the tournament. They won their first game. Utah State unfortunately went home, and I hate that I chose UCLA on my bracket.
Wait, pause right there. So first of all, Utah State lost 72-47. That's a smoking.
It was. So I had to be like, you know what? I love Utah State, and I think they're really good because they are. And they just got outplayed by UCLA.
So when you put together your bracket, so I am a loyalty person in my bracket. So if it's so for example, I was pleasantly surprised when Arkansas beat Kansas.
And I'm a Kansas loyalty.
Yeah, right.
loyal.
So I picked
Yes.
Arkansas over as an upset. I picked them because a friend of mine went to Arkansas, and I'm loyal that way. That's not how you do your bracket.
No,
So-
I mean I picked. So I am loyal, but
'Cause
I
you
was
said
like,
you
there's.
picked UCLA.
I was like, there's not a way that they're going to beat UCLA. But like with Kansas, I thought Kansas might lose. They haven't been playing that great, but I picked them to win because I lived on their campus for 6 months, and so I was like, I got to go with the Jayhawks. So I'm a huge Jayhawks fan. I went to the Jayhawks games when they played in Utah last year for March Madness. I wore my Jayhawks gear. So, but I was really proud of BYU for winning. They played awesome. And the best story to come out of BYU is the NIL deal from Tater Tots, from Ore-Ida Tater Tots.
Oh my gosh, I saw that picture. So I want to just tell you, yesterday I'm sitting there watching some NCAA basketball, and my daughter's sitting on the couch next to me, and she says, "Do they pay those players to play?" And I thought, man, like right to the heart of every conversation about college sports, just hanging out here with me. And I said, no, but they can have endorsements. Like this kid's a tater tot guy. Like I was able to pull, like, look at this picture of the tater tots.
So for those listeners who don't know, you all should know by now because it's funny. All the color commentators are talking about this. Ore-Ida Tater Tots, a very famous brand. You've seen it in your store. And their Twitter is just blowing up because they're having a lot of fun with this. They did an NIL deal for BYU's Richie Saunders, and his great-grandfather invented the tater tot. So a true...
I did not even know that. I
Yes.
just thought, oh, isn't that cute? It's potatoes. But
No.
his great I
So
love this
he gets
story.
free tater tots.
For the rest of his life.
Well, I guess, but it's funny because the announcers are talking about him. Like, when we got here to the game today, we smelled tater tots, and people are bringing them to us because Ore-Ida is like sponsoring a lot of these things.
I love this.
So I
story.
think it's
Yeah.
awesome, and he owns it. He's like, yes, that's my great grandfather. This is my legacy is tater tots. And it's so funny to hear these commentators doing the play-by-play will mention it when he gets the ball.
Because you know why? A little bit, like, because I watch a lot of Weber State basketball when they are on like ESPN Plus, right? Because they're not a power important conference, and I think the commentators get like a list of fun things to talk about. So when you are watching a game when Weber State's like at a school that doesn't know anything about
Yeah.
them, right? They're like, this person does. So I got to think that
majoring
maybe,
in economics
That's right.
or
Like,
technical sales.
Yeah, people are probably like, we don't really know maybe BYU as well as we should have, but what we know is this kid likes tater tot. I mean, like, gives you a nice color commentary.
It's great. And one had such a good time with it during the tournament, and they were like, this is a true American hero for inventing the tater tot. Anyway, so that's been really fun. And to your point, I do enjoy watching the games. When I'll watch McNeese. I hate
Oh my
that they won because
gosh.
they ruined my bracket.
They destroyed everyone's bracket, but Clemson, good job knocking them out.
Knock out Clemson. But I like watching the games because they talk about the schools, they talk about the state, they talk about the cities.
Schools have ads, right? So when you're watching games, you'll see, and I always criticize Weber State because I'll say, we have these beautiful mountains. Could please every ad we have when we are on TV.
It's the prettiest campus in the state.
Please put a picture outside in our ads. But yeah, right. So you learn. Right, my daughter's kind of paying attention. She's going to college next year. She's paying attention to the different schools.
It's a great advertisement. So I'm excited about March Madness. We're only a couple days into it.
Do you feel like we're going to get a text that says we didn't talk about women's basketball?
Yeah, we'll probably get the text.
And a little bit, I want to say, mostly what I know is Caitlin Clark's not in this year, which is
I
a
watched
horrible thing.
But I watched it when Caitlin Clark
Last year
was
I
in there.
paid attention, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Join me again as we talk with Taylor Morgan about everything political on the show Monday at 1 p.m. Next up, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News with Maria Chaleos. Have a great weekend.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria